Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Zach. I'm here today with the Ruka and Kulak fighter and bomber concept, the Ruka over in yellow and the Kulak over in blue. The Ruka is an air superiority fighter utilizing 22 autocannons, and the Kulak is a bomber utilizing 23 assault cannons. They dominate their engagement ranges of 800 and 1400 meters respectively, and do so through high mobility, decent firepower, and decent armor. We're going to go over a systems walkthrough of each of them as if it were a bit of an owner's manual, and then we're going to get into some engagements. So let's go do that. Alright, so starting with the Ruka fighter over here, we have its 22 autocannons, 3 cameras, and 8 reverse thrusters, as well as a couple of blue lights. The cameras are central to the autocannons here, however, when you're actually fighting, I would recommend fighting in third person, as autocannons generate a lot of smoke, and if you're using the cameras, it just becomes a game of put the crosshair on the circle. It's a little less engaging. It also, you can't see your enemy actually firing at you, and so you have to kind of just guess at your dodges, which can be effective, but it's better to be able to see them. The Ruka is lightly armored, but effectively armored. All of this stands in between any stray shots and the thrusters. The 2 hydrogen tanks in the rear are armored up on that side and are protected by the Gatling turrets themselves. The top is kind of inset, so typically we aren't worried too much about that. However, all of these small thrusters a little bit easier to damage than the larger thrusters, so good thing to keep in mind. On the bottom we've got the 1 large hydrogen thruster and several smaller ones. Again, a little bit of armor, kind of difficult to hit that one. And in the rear, we have 3 large hydrogen thrusters as well as a few smaller thrusters. Mag plates for landing. And that's what she looks like. So we've got 2 large hydrogen tanks, small block obviously, this is a small block ship. And then we actually have 2 O2 and H2 generators on either side. Allows you to have a little bit greater degree of sustainment if you carry along some ice in your large cargo container up here. Autocannon magazines are pretty small. It's worth having a little bit along. And of course, if you get stranded or something, maybe you can mine a little bit of ice and throw it in there. So getting into the cockpit. You have 2 toolbars, 1 and 2. Your first toolbar is your main toolbar, which is fairly self-explanatory, but I'll just run through it quickly. Switch lock on 1, thrust on off on 2, tank stockpile on 3, battery recharge on off on 4, antenna on off on 6, lights on 7, and a startup and shutdown timer block on 8 and 9. All they do is switch on and off the battery recharge, thrust, tank stockpile, and the lights. On your second toolbar, you have your weapons and cameras. On 1, you just have your standard weapon tool, which allows you to target and just left click to fire. Then you have 2, 3, and 4, your center, top, and bottom cameras. And then you have your turrets on and off. And then you have the weapon cycling, the subsystem cycling button for the guns, default, weapons, propulsion, power systems. And then lastly, you have target neutrals on off in case you're feeling like being a pirate one day. Alright, let's go get into a fight. actually. We took a couple of artillery shells here. We've lost at least one assault cannon. We might have kind of like overly damaged some others. I don't see any though. We've lost a side thruster. We took some hits on the side here where we would have eventually destroyed a hydrogen tank. I wonder if that's taken any damage, and I wonder if I can even see it. I guess it didn't take any damage. That's nice. It looks like somehow we lost connection out front here, which does circle around and do basically all of this, which is a bit of a weak point. There's like 3 connections up here, and if that's gone, then you lose it. I might modify that a little bit before release. I think it's plenty capable right now, but as you can see, fighter's capable of both taking on the high-profile transport ship, surviving, and actually taking a couple shots despite its small stature. And of course, over here we have our Kulak bomber. The Kulak comes with 23 assault cannons on the front. The assault cannons are a little bit smaller than your average artillery turret, but they will still take a chunk of heavy armor and throw it out into space. It does take a good handful of shots usually to destroy a ship, because if they are armored at all, you are spending a lot of time working through that armor, and while each shot should remove a full chunk of armor, you will then need to hit that spot again to hit the reactors or thrusters or hydrogen tanks or whatever else is behind that. However, you are staying at 1.4 kilometers of range, and you have high mobility, so despite the fact that it might take a while, the Kulak has a higher survival rate than the Ruka, and a higher win rate as well. So on the front, 23 autocannons, 8 hydrogen thrusters, the small ones, 2 up top, 2 on the bottom, for a total of 12 reverse thrusters, a top and bottom camera as well. On the sides, we have 1 large hydrogen thruster, as well as 6 smaller thrusters toward the rear. And on the rear, we have 5 large hydrogen thrusters. Up top, we have a large hydrogen thruster, and 8 smaller thrusters up front, 6 smaller thrusters up in the back, for 14 small thrusters. And on the bottom, we have very much the same setup, with 8 and 6. The Kulak comes with 4 hydrogen tanks, a large version and the small block variant. They're behind each of these thrusters, with the exception being the middle one. And it comes with 2 modular cargo containers? Modular cargo containers, that's what it is, which combined have a greater capacity than a single large cargo container. Additionally, there is a medium cargo container connecting the rear thruster and the cockpit up here. And similar to the Ruka, there are O2 and H2 generators on either side here. Identical to the Ruka, the main toolbar contains all of the on-off switches, including the startup and shutdown timer block. There's no real difference, the only one being that this uses spotlights instead of floodlights, and so the icon is a little different. On toolbar 2, however, of course we have 1 less camera on the front, but we also have Whip Salvo script enabled on this ship, Whiplash 141. They produce a variety of scripts. I use many of them on many of my ships. Salvo is certainly one of them. What that does is turn off all of your weapons, and then it turns them on one by one using the reload time of a single weapon divided by the number of weapons you have. So if there are 23, and let's say it takes 23 seconds to reload one of these weapons, what it will do is divide that 23 by 23 to give you 1 second, and it will turn on a block every second and fire it. Of course, the assault cannons do reload faster than 23 seconds, so what it does look like is this. You may notice Mars over here moving around a little bit when I do this. Mars isn't really moving. We are. There's recoil, and Whip Salvo script will need to be accounted for when it comes to that. I personally find that the overall burst function is a little better. It allows you greater mobility, turn and burn, but sometimes you just need to shoot a bunch of them all at once and I don't know. Do as you will with that. I like it. I like having it. Alright. Let's go get into some fights. Salvo, we did some damage along it. Something's smoking, but nothing looks to be totally out of order just yet. This can take hits like the fighter, like the Ruka, but a little less. Okay, so we want to get out of that 800 range. Have done some thrusting damage here. This guy's not really too much. He's definitely got his forward thrust. There's no way I'm not going to protect us from the rear, but maybe it's just because I'm head on. He doesn't really feel the need to move much. It's not going to work out very good, but dead in the water. Like, he's obviously able to move, but he doesn't... The AI seems programmed to just face me head on, and he doesn't have any forward weapons that are effective right now. It's kind of nice. Very, very relaxing here. That doesn't feel like a fight. But, let's give it to him a little bit here. He doesn't look like he's gonna really let us. shot. What do you think, guys? Call it good? I feel like this is probably a reasonable place to just say fight's over. So I think we really only took that one hit. Something's sparking along in there. Looks like maybe the thruster took the damage. Nope. Oh. It's this access panel. I think that's genuinely all. Let's see. Nothing's red. That is a pretty intact ship. Just a quick pass on the welder wall, and you're good.